Yo, in this video, we're going to be talking about all of the weapon perks and perk buckets or perk labels in New World. So for those of you that may be new to the world of Eternum, perks on your gear are basically bonuses to that gear. So for example, you could have something like the Vorpal perk applied to a musket that increases your headshot damage. You could also have something like the refreshing perk on your gear that's going to reduce the max cooldowns of your abilities. So it's very important to point out that every perk cannot be rolled on every single weapon. So for example, you could have something like Vorpal that can only be rolled on the bow, the musket, or the blunderbuss. You could also have something like Blessed. The Blessed perk can only be rolled on Life Staff and Void Gauntlet. Or you could have something like the Ruinous perk, which can be rolled on every single weapon in the game. Along with perks in New World, there's also these things called perk buckets or perk labels. So there's a total of 9 primary perk labels in New World. There's a handful of secondary perk labels associated with weapons that follow the same rules as the primary perk labels do. So the primary perk labels are accuracy, blocking, critical, damage con, damage category, on kill, proc, threat, and skill. So these are very important because within each of these labels there are several perks associated with those labels. What this means is that whenever you're rolling gear in New World, you cannot have a perk within the same label roll on one specific piece of weapon. There are exceptions in the game, but these exceptions apply to dropped gear only and not crafted gear in the game. So it's also worth pointing out that there are skill perk buckets or perk labels that are perks for each type of weapon. So you can only roll a weapon specific perk on that particular weapon. It's worth pointing out also that while crafting gear, the skill perks can be utilized on armor. So oftentimes players opt to craft weapons without the weapon specific perk to take advantage of other perks that cannot be crafted on armor. And the weapon specific perks do not stack. So if you have one weapon specific perk on one specific piece of armor, that's all you would need for that perk. Don't get it on any other armor because those do not stack. All right, so now we're going to go on over to newworldfans.com. We're going to go to guides. We're going to go down to perks and perk buckets and down to weapon perks and perk buckets. This is going to show us all of the weapon perks in New World and their associated perk labels or perk buckets. So as you can see over here to the far right as well, we can see which weapons are applicable to a specific perk. So for example, accuracy can only be used with the bow, the musket, and the blunderbuss. Vorpal can only be used with the bow, musket, and blunderbuss. However, something like enchanted could be rolled on every weapon in the game. So now let's take what we have learned as far as perks and perk stacking goes, and let's take a look at this chart and put this into practice. So let's take a look at the perk buckets first. So you have accuracy, blocking, critical, damage con, damage category, on kill, proc, threat, and then all of the skill perks down here in the bottom. So we know now that you cannot stack perks on a weapon that lie within the same perk bucket. So for example, accuracy right here, you could not have a bow, a musket, or blunderbuss that has both accuracy and Vorpal on the same weapon. You could, however, have a weapon that has accuracy and keen and vicious on there because all of those fall within different perk buckets. So accuracy is within the accuracy perk bucket, keen is within the critical perk bucket, and vicious is within the damage con perk bucket. You could not, however, have one that has Vorpal and vicious because both of those have a perk bucket number 2 that's called crit headshot. So those could not be applied to the same weapon. So you get the idea here of how this chart works. You cannot have 2 perks in the same category or same perk bucket or perk label on the same weapon. So for example, you could not have Ancient Bane and Angry Earthbane on the same weapon because both of those fall within the damage category perk label. You could, however, have Ancient Bane, Mortal Life Steal, and Refreshing Move on a weapon. You can also see over here a perk like Refreshing Move works on all weapons except for the blunderbuss. So you can see again over here on the side all the weapons that are applicable to that specific perk. Down here at the very bottom we have our skill perks that we talked about before, and as noted before, you can only roll these weapon specific perks on their specific weapons. So something like Energizing Fell Rush, Keen Berserk, Refreshing Torrent, Energizing Rending Throw, Vorpal Distancing Throw, and Mending Infected Throw are all hatchet perks. Those can only be rolled on the hatchet. You cannot roll something like empowering armor breaker on your hatchet whenever you try to roll a hatchet. All right, so that about does it for this video, guys. We'll make sure to link that guide over at newworldfans.com down in the description below. And if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what perks you're trying to shoot for on your weapons, and if you've been able to roll that ever elusive BIS item that you've been searching for so long, let us know what you rolled and how good it is. Brag about it a little bit in the comments. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.